Good afternoon. My name is Renuka Bajpai. I'm an anchor at WIBC at Urban One, and it's lovely to be chatting with you. What's your name?
My name is James Montgomery.
Well, James, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice sunny day, so I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, we gotta enjoy the sun while it lasts, right?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
So I understand that you have some businesses and some ideas on businesses in Indiana. So I have a couple of
Mhm.
questions about your work you've done throughout the years as a contractor. My first question is, you've worked at a high level in business development. What was the defining moment that pushed you from thinking like an employee to fully operating like an entrepreneur?
That's a really good question. What actually, the short version is about 10 years ago, I actually was working as an operation manager for a company down in Indianapolis, and I was terminated for no just cause, and that was literally the reason. And that forced me into a situation where I had to find a new job, and that hasn't happened to me in my adult life, right? So I was like, okay, what's going on with me? What had happened previously was I took myself back to school. I was actually in the process of growing my knowledge base and everything. And so when that occurred, I found myself, out in the job market trying to find something new, and I couldn't find anything. And it was really just the situation kind of forced me into okay, well, I need to start my own business then. And that's where the mindset began at. But that situation showed me that I had to go from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, that didn't happen initially. I mean, I had to learn that that's what was occurring, but I did have the advantage of years of working with my father, who was an entrepreneur for years, and him showing and demonstrating to me what entrepreneurship was. So I knew that I had the experience that I had with him, plus I had the mentoring of him, and so it was clear that that was the direction I needed to go into, and it was the right direction to go into.
Yeah, like you said, you had guidance from your father, which definitely helped. And
Yeah.
obviously, nothing happens overnight, even though we wish things would happen overnight.
Mhm.
But that's how you set into how you want to do things.
Exactly, exactly. So that's what started me down the path of going through the mental transformation from employee to entrepreneur, and becoming a lifelong learner with intention. And that was the big thing, becoming a lifelong learner with intention. Because what I did know at the time that the market had shifted and business as usual was no longer the standard. And fast forward to 10 years later, and we see how things have panned out.
A lot of people want to step into entrepreneurship, but they don't know where to start. What is the first mindset shifts someone needs before they even think about launching a business?
Definitely. The first thing that I work with people on in this is personal development, but find out who you are. And that's the biggest thing about it is one thing I do with people is actually use it's a personality assessment that's been used, as scientifically proven and everything. But who are you? That's the biggest thing. Learn who you are. What's your personality set? Because what people do is they take what they've always done as who they are, and that doesn't translate from well, I've always worked in the office all of my life, doing data entry. So they think, okay, well, I'm gonna start a business, doing data entry. Well, if that's what you did, that's not who you are. So the first thing that is most important that people do is, okay, take a moment, take the time and really sit down with themselves, with a journal, but take some time and really analyze, who am I? Who am I? And then once you get a really good understanding of who you are, you're going to be able to attack it. Because what's going to happen is when you start your business, you're going to learn very quickly that everybody that you thought was your support system is not is they're looking at a transition that never occurred in front of them, so it looks foreign to them, and you cannot expect for them to automatically agree with what it is that you're pursuing now. So you have to understand, if you don't understand who you are, it will destroy you. And so my first thing that I tell anybody is, find out who you are, because one thing that you can't do is force how you see the world down everybody else's throat, and especially in the markets that you're starting your business in. Mhm.
I feel like asking the question who you are is very important. A lot of people don't
Hmm.
know who they are, and that's how you create your own brand and your branding awareness. That's how you market your
Hmm.
business and yourself. So when you don't have that branding, it's very hard to get to the top or to get even noticed. Is that what you
Yes.
would think?
Yes, definitely. Because what's happening is you're trying to fit into narratives that do not apply to you. And one thing about owning your own business is you have to be able to show up authentically every day, because it's not, you can't come in as an actor. You can't come in filling a role as an actor in your own business, because you're the beginning and the end of the supply chain inside of your business, and it's all on you. And so if you don't show up as your authentic self, the people that you come in contact with will suss that out. And if they don't get authenticity, they will not partner with you. They won't do business with you, and you will not be able to gain the traction that you need to gain in building relationships.
You specialize in business turnaround strategy. What are the most common mistakes you see struggling businesses making, especially early on?
Mhm. Early on, the biggest struggles, I would have to say, is in the relationship building part. Because the reality of it is it's imperative that you don't get to carry your old relationships into your new business, but you need to cultivate new relationships in order to grow forward. And one thing that people struggle with is they never make that transition from who I've always dealt with versus who I'm going to deal with going forward. And so one of the things that is important for a business to do, especially in the beginning, and you're going to make mistakes, and that's the one thing that you got to give yourself grace. In the beginning, you're going to make mistakes. In the middle, you're going to make mistakes. At the end, you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen, and the best thing that you can do is not quit. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on your business, because here's the thing: your business becomes like a child. Your business is your child. Your business is your newborn baby, and you don't just get to quit on the newborn baby. And
Correct.
so most business people, most business owners don't take on the fact that, okay, this business is a child. This business needs everything from me, because this business can't support itself. This business can't take care of itself for the first 5 to 10 years for the first 5 to 10 years. And so I can't leave this business at home by itself. And so that's where a lot of people struggle at the beginning, and those are the mistakes that people make, and that's where a lot of people quit at. And you have to commit not to quit at the beginning.
I agree with you. I feel like I haven't heard anyone saying your business is like your child, but that's
Hmm.
very true because what I'll see a lot in family businesses is like second, third generation. They're like, oh,
Hmm.
it's fine. Like, we've been having this business for a long time. And then they don't take care of the business like how their dad or
Hmm.
uncle or grandparent did. And everything falls apart because they didn't give it the essential needs a business needs to have.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
And from your experience in Indiana, what does it take to build a business that not only survives, but actually scales and sustains long term?
It's interesting, especially when we're focusing on Indiana. In Indiana, the one thing that your business absolutely positively needs to sustain and scale is relationships. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's relationships, especially in Indiana. And this is one thing that I learned from my father through, he called it through osmosis, but it came through watching him actually engage and interact with different men and women from all around Indiana over the years. And they did totally different environments, totally different lifestyles, totally different ages, totally different races. And I would see him engage with all of these different people that he developed these relationships with over all these years, and this is how they did business. So I got to an inside track on, okay, we're doing business with all of these different people that we don't know. It's we don't have the same viewpoints, we don't have the same backgrounds at all. But the reality of it is, and I watched him actually work and coordinate with people, and there was no, he never complained about this one and this one and this one. He never, backbit anybody, and he would deal with people on a regular basis. Well, it demonstrated something. So I'm glad I personally got to witness that, because fast forward to as I started developing businesses and everything, I realized, and even through all the years of working in different industries, the relationships in Indiana is the only way that you can build and sustain a business in Indiana for sure. That's a lost art. I say that specifically because over the past 10 years, I've worked with a lot of people, and I still continue to work with a lot of people, and this is the number one struggle that has been had. People have been unable to cultivate, communicate, develop relationships, have been unable to cultivate past relationships, build future relationships. And I've seen these are full grown adults. These are a lot of times older than me, adults who cannot build and sustain relationships. But the reality of it is, the businesses that strive and that thrive, especially in this environment, are those that have relationships built. They don't have to be the strongest relationships, but it have to be decent relationships where there's an amount of respect for one another. But the relationships is the number one way to scale a business and sustain a business long term in Indiana. Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate your time, James. It was great talking to you. Great to get an inside scoop about Indiana businesses, growing connections, and how to maintain a business. So thank you so much again for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.